Hey guys, it's Donald the Solo RPG guy here, coming at you with another video. I know it's been a while. I just want to give you an update of what's happening here. Um, Unlimited Dungeons. What exactly is Unlimited Dungeons? Well, Unlimited Dungeons, don't get too excited. You can't buy this. It's not a complete game. But I have decided that in the realm of the dungeon crawl world to create my own dungeon crawl game. And right now this is some cards I made up. I finally learned some computer program to help me make cards, and I'm using these as a test prototype to create my own game. Why am I creating my own game, you ask? Well, sometimes you're doing your solo RPG thing and your emulator throws something at you that you can't quite figure out how to interpret it. So most emulators say ignore it and push on. But eventually you get to that point where you're constantly now ignoring and pushing on, and you're suffering from a case of the solo RPG equivalent of writer's block. So I decided that during that time where I'm suffering from writer's block to get the creative juices going and create my own dungeon crawl game. Now I'm going to start off by saying that this video and this project are inspired by, dedicated to, and in some cases probably totally ripped off from a couple of fellow YouTubers. So I'm going to give them a couple of shout outs. The first channel I'm going to shout out is John, otherwise known as Mr. Wargaming at the Joy of Wargaming channel. Now, you're not going to believe this, but you know what this guy's gist is of his channel? You're not going to believe this. He takes miniature wargaming, games designed to be played by 2 or more people, and he plays them solo. I mean, come on. What type of escape mental asylum patient do you gotta be to take a group of games designed to be played by multiple people and play them solo? Welcome to the asylum, John. I'm going to mention his channel because he's got a lot of good stuff on his channel. It doesn't matter what your genre of choice is. He's got fantasy, he's got space, he's got historicals, Napoleonics. He did a couple of campaigns using the solo wargaming guide as his guide to creating the campaign. So, Mr. Wargaming, I'm just busting your chops just a little bit with the whole mental asylum escapee thing, because I know you like busting the chops of your subscribers, and I'm, well, just returning the favor. I'll take that mantle upon me. I got nothing but mad respect and admiration for the work you do on your channel. You've helped me maintain my sanity during these, shall we say, unprecedented times. And I just love your channel. And after all, you're always praying for us. And in this day and age, we can all use a little help every now and then, no matter what. So keep up the good work. Keep up this good stuff. I love your channel. And I'm going to put links down below to everything so the subscribers can check you out. Another channel I'm going to recommend is Daniel over at the Dungeon Dive. Daniel's primary thing behind his channel is he reviews a lot of board and card games, typically with a dungeon style theme, hence his name, the Dungeon Dive. And he did something kind of strange, kind of unique, kind of different. He stretched his wings, and he did a couple of videos where he went full-fledged RPG and tried it solo using the Scarlet Heroes books. So you might want to go check that out. Not only do you get reviews for a bunch of different things, but at the same time you get another man's perspective on solo RPG, specifically coming from someone who's probably got more hours under his belt playing solo games than most of us here put together. So I recommend highly that you go check him out. Now, the next channel I want to recommend is a guy by the name of Mark over at Mark's Dice Tales. He does a lot of solo miniature wargaming as well, and he did something that kind of stirred the imagination just a little bit. He did a couple of videos on the Call to Arms game by Modifius. Their answer to it's a tabletop version of the somewhat popular video game Skyrim. And although I wasn't interested in the game itself, they did come out with an expansion called Into the Dark, which will allow you to take that game and create dungeon and wilderness scenarios, moving your miniatures around on the board. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me check that out. So I did, and it stirred a few ideas in my mind. And then he also did I actually did 3 videos on Cell Swords and Spellslingers by Andreas Feligoy. I'm probably messing up that name. You probably recognize that name because he's the guy that's made the 4 Against Darkness and the 4 Against Mars and the 4 Against, well, everything else out there. He's also done the Song and Blades of Heroes series, which if you're interested in, the previously mentioned Joy of Wargaming has also done several videos on, so you might want to go check that out. Anyway, he was doing one on the Spell Swords and Spellslingers, and they had this unique card activation system where if you fail on certain rolls, you have to draw a card and, well, bad things happen to your party. And I'm like, I like that mechanic. So let's see. We've got a dungeon generation system, and there's many more out there. That's not the only one, of course. I've got tons at my disposal. You've got an activation type system or some way of generating events to mess your party up. Now all I got to do is go through my list of games and come up with some core rules to use. Let me think about that. I'm not going to go into this particular one too deep because I've already done a review on it, but Goal System Delves. It is a dungeon skirmish role-playing game and has pretty much everything you need right there on the tin. But just like every other game out there that you see people review on, they like the game, but there's always that but in the way. There's something they want to change. So I decided to take some of these games, go through them, and see what I wanted to change and mesh it all together. So another guy asked me on my channel why I don't do space games. Well, I'm not that big of a space opera fan. However, if you are interested in this game and you like space opera, go back to the aforementioned Joy of Wargaming. He did a mashup of Void Pirates and I believe it's 5 Parsecs from Home, which the Void Pirates is the space version of this game. Next up, Gang Fight. Universal Skirmish Rules. Let's take a look on the back here and see what it says. This miniatures neutral multi-genre skirmish game designed to pit your tactical skills against one another using nothing more than a few miniatures, a few dice, and a table. In this book you will find the complete rules to play the game as well as a few sample campaign settings to get you started. Whether you're clashing swords in the Chronicle, exchanging laser blast in Aeon, or keeping the enemy pinned down under suppressive fire in First Strike, there's something in here for everybody. This book actually has 3 different eras in it. It's got a fantasy genre, it's got a more modern genre, and it's got a futuristic genre. The only thing it don't have is a solo rule set. But you guys are smart. I know I got some of the smartest, most creative subscribers on the planet. You can figure out a way to turn it solo. And here's another thing about this game. It was created by Taylor Holloway, and I think we're going to officially indoctrinate Taylor Holloway into our little insane asylum because he's done something very good for you guys. He's allowed you to get this game for free. All you got to do is join his Facebook group, go to the file sections, and you can download a PDF of this game. And if you like what you see and you want to buy yourself the hardback version, I'm sure it can be arranged. But going back to the game, real quick, sitting there flipping through the book, and look, you got stats here for pretty much all the races that you can shake a stick at. Humans, elves, dwarves, warrow, orcs, goblins, gnolls, gur, Sarime, Loki, vermin. I kind of think of them as either kobolds or ratmen, ogres, fays, and trolls, giants, beasts, demons, and undead. And then when you go to the modern section here, you got rules for modern play, or this is actually Eon Prime. This, I think, is the futuristic play. And you flip through, look, more races that you can mix and match, like, oh, insectoids, in case you decide you want to go on a bug hunt or something. And like I said, it's a pretty easy to follow game. I mean, it's not super easy. It's not something you're going to pick up and play in 5 minutes, but after you read through it, you'll be able to figure it out. And it's also got a more modern genre. Let me see if I can find that. See, for modern, sniper rifles, submachine gun rules, thrower, missile launcher, shotguns. It's got a little bit of everything. Here we go. Unit profiles for soldiers, scouts, elites, operatives, and heroes. This is probably more of a human-esque, human-centric kind of game. But nothing says you can't have a crazy mix match of, I don't know, ogres and kobolds running around with sniper rifles. It's also got a set of campaign rules. All the great stuff you look forward to when you're playing miniature wargaming and you want, you know, some type of campaign-based game. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. Just go to the Facebook group, hit the file section, and there you go. Next up, we got Burrows and Badgers, a skirmish game of anthropomorphic animals by Michael Lovejoy. Now, when I first saw this game, I made a terrible mistake of misjudging a book by its cover. I saw that it was about anthropomorphic animals, and I'm like, well, there's not too many distributors that make fantasy-based otters and dogs and rabbits and whatever. I mean, the company that makes this, Oathsworn, I believe is the name of the company that makes it, from Osprey Games. They have a miniature line to support this game, but I'm like, it's not one of those games that, you know, I don't think I can get into. But then I was watching a YouTube video, and a gentleman was interviewing a Games Workshop employee. And he asked that Games Workshop employee, if there was only one game that you can play and all others disappeared off the planet, what would it be? And he chose this game. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. A Game Workshop employee picking a game that's not Games Workshop? Well, there must be something behind it. So I did a little more research, and I'm glad I did. One, it's got a very intuitive, easy to follow combat system using polyhedral dice. Secondly, it incorporates functions such as searching and hiding, as well as ambushing, things you expect to happen when you're running around in dungeon. It's also got campaign rules. It's got rules for your warband creating its own den. And I'm like, oh, wait, I can change den to hideout. I think I can take this game and work with it. Of course, it's got all your scenarios. It's got it's even got a section back here on secondary objectives, which is something you can incorporate into a dungeon other than, you know, just slay the monsters. And of course, it's got its own little set of magic item creation. And after I watched a couple of reviews on that, immediately my mind started turning gears. I'm like, I think I can do something with this game. So I got this game, and actually the book itself just came in today, although I've had the PDF for a while. So probably going to start toying with that one and seeing about using these mechanics as the basis for my upcoming dungeon crawl game. Now, if you don't want to create your own game and you're looking for a game that pretty much has the whole dungeon crawl experience in one book, and you want to push your little miniatures around, Let me throw this game at you. The Fistful of Lead Fantasy Series. All 3 books in one. Now, here's the bad news and the good news about this game. As you can see, this is a collector's edition. The hardback is no longer available, but you can get the 3-book set, and this game uses a initiative mechanic like Savage Worlds that uses a deck of cards. You can get the 3 books and the cards currently at a discounted price. Again, the links will be down below. And it's been autographed by Jay Wiley itself. Now, I'm not going to do a complete review on this unless, a lot of people are really wanting me to, but I'm going to put links below for a couple of playthroughs of the core rules, as well as Jay Wiley's himself, his playthroughs of him proto-testing this with his friends. But the 3-book series starts off with Might and Melee. This is just the core combat rules. So if you just want to take knights and samurais and have them beat each other up, you can go ahead and do that. As you can see, it's a very beautiful book. And other than the fact that this particular book is hardback, the softback editions look pretty much identical. So you're still getting a good product. You just can't get the hardback anymore. Again, you got campaign rules, scenarios to play, and probably, mix and match scenarios, like some from this book, and mix it with Burrows and Badgers or Gang Fight or whatever it is you got going on. The second book, Magic and Mages. This brings spellcasting into your game. And what's a good dungeon crawl without some spellcasting? Doesn't matter whether they're wizards, sorcerers, warlocks, witches, clerics, whatever. This has the rules for the magic portion. I believe there are 8 schools of magic. Path of Light, Path of Darkness, Path of the Dead, Path of Elements, Path of the Wild, Path of Chaos, Path of Illusion, Path of Ruin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 different paths of magic. Again, it's very well laid out, easy to read book. Rules for dispelling and summoning and all the other good stuff. Scrolls, potions, and magic items. You already got your handy-dandy charts for that. And then the last book, book 3 of the series, which of course wants to be the one page that wants to hide. Monsters and Mazes. This allows you to create your fantasy monsters and put them in the dungeon, hence the name, Monsters and Mazes. It gives you an alternative way to make your characters instead of the normal way described in the normal Fistful of Fantasy series. You can now add classes and races. And then, of course, you got all your rules for the dungeon. Exploration. It uses a deck of cards to create your dungeon. So, for example, you draw 4 clubs, you have a short passages, 2 doors, and it's got a right-hand turn. You happen to pull the 8 of spades, well, you have a long passage, ends in a T-junction. Uh-oh, wandering monster. Dun, dun, dun. Rules for secret doors. All your charts for the layers and the actual dungeon itself. Combat in the dungeon. Traps. Can't have a dungeon without traps. And then, of course, random charts to roll up the treasure. It's even got a little section here for between adventurers. What happens between your adventures as you're dungeon diving. And then the rest of the book is, well, the monster manual. And it's not a very in-depth monster manual, but you got enough information here to play most of the common creatures and enough ways to create your own. And he's even got a sample dungeon here. Your templates, which you can just go ahead and either download these or make some tokens or whatever. As you can see, it's a fairly simple character sheet. Leader, sergeant, and the rest of your retinue. What your shoot die is, your close combat, your armor, your traits, equipment, and any special notes. Real simple. And then, of course, he did do something smart, and he did put all the major charts that you would need handy dandy on one page, two page, right there in the back of the book. Here's the basic rules for the combat system. So yeah, all in all, if you don't want to make your own game, but you want to do a dungeon crawl, highly recommend Fistful of Lead Fantasy. All right, to answer your question, what is these unlimited dungeon cards? Well, I got on some computer program to learn how to make, do the technical things on making cards, and I'm using these just as a prototype to test out various things. And this right now primarily is an event deck, because you have to have some type of surprise going on in the game, and taking, inspiration from the D&D line of games and Cell Swords and Spell Slingers and all these other games I've shown you just now in this video, and all the RPGs I've got. Just started toying around with ideas. Things like Monster Activates, give the monster an extra attack, Bag of Coins, Monster Frenzy, They Came From Behind. Place D3 regulars of the appropriate monster type at the entrance or table edge where the party entered, and they immediately take action. Some good cards, or the party finds coins or potions. Of course, at the time I made these cards, I was messing around with gang fights, so I put the gang fight type mechanics in here. Here's a couple of traps, crossbow and spear. I got a little thing here, watch your step. The character misjudges his footing, make a move check for his target number 6. If the character fails, he is considered knocked down and loses any remaining actions. Got a couple reinforcements arrive. And of course, you can't have a dungeon crawl without Wandering Monster. Dun dun dun. So I got a bunch of Wandering Monster cards. Got some extra monster activates, so they get extra turns and whatnot. And when you look at the Cell Swords and Spell Slingers, and you combine the idea with the mechanics from Burrows and Badgers, ambush. Dun dun dun. So yeah, that's what's happening right now. Taking all these RPGs I got and miniature war games and 30 plus years of playing experience, and just developing my own little dungeon crawl. Something to pass the time when I'm suffering from that writer's block while doing the RPG thing, and having fun while doing so. If I make a good game, great. If it's a dumpster fire, oh well. Either way, I'm still having fun, taking all this knowledge and experience and information at my hand, and just create a game that I want to play. That way I can say, I like this game, and there is no but at the end, because, well, I made it. And of course, I can change it at any time to fit whatever mood I can probably come up with. At this point, I got 2 or 3 different ideas in my head on how to approach this, so I could make 2 or 3 different games depending. So either way, I will have plenty of options for my dungeon crawl experience. Well, I hope this video has been insightful and has helped you, get your creative juices flowing. Have any questions, feel free to throw them down in the comments. If you have any suggestions on what you would like to see in a dungeon crawl game, put that down there too. Because that's another thing of interest I've noticed. I posted that question in my Facebook group, and I literally got a ton of different answers. So it's always fun to see what different people are looking for when they try to do or play a dungeon crawl game. So thank you, Mr. Wargaming. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Mark, and everybody else that has somehow, way, shape, or form contributed to inspiring me to do this little project. And until my next video, happy gaming. Oh wait, one other thing. Hold on a second. Mr. Wargaming, if you're still watching this video, I got something I want to show you. Dun dun dun. Owlbear. You know what I mean. Happy gaming.